Whether you're looking for relationship advice or curious about the art of intimacy, Roma's got you covered. Pleasure Pulse, every Tuesday night from 8 to 9 p.m. Only on Television Radio 96.1 FM. Don't miss out. Your sex education journey starts this Tuesday with Roma as your guide.
Welcome back to Pleasure Pulse. I'm your host, Roma Richardson, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm so happy to have you joining me here tonight for another conversation about sex and something else, something connected. I have my two guests here, One is a regular at this point, and one is a new guest. Very appropriate. I'm so happy to have you here with me tonight. Can you reintroduce yourself in your case?
Okay, I am Lucine Pemberton Vaughan, health educator and counselor within the Ministry of Health in the National AIDS Secretariat. So I do rapid testing as well. I hail from the beautiful town of Keyon, living in Keys now. I am a budding sex therapist and sexologist.
Welcome again. Welcome
it's a
back.
Pleasure to be here.
Well, good evening, everyone. That's definitely hard to follow because I know everybody is probably like, what did she just say? But my name is Latoya Matthew Duncan. I am the Nutrition Surveillance Coordinator in the Health Promotion Unit at the Ministry of Health. Though not as exciting as what my colleague Lucine just said, nutrition is still very important and as interesting and fascinating and exciting as SEX.
Yes.
I hail from the gorgeous village of Fig Tree. I now reside in Sandy Point, and it truly is a pleasure to be here.
Thank you both for joining me. I feel like I opened a can of worms by asking them to, inviting them if they wanted to share where they're from, because, depending on where you're from in saying kids, there are different levels of excitement to talk about where you're from, right? So I opened a can of worms here, but it's okay. Thankfully, that ain't what we're getting into. We ain't talking about no football, we ain't talking about no basketball, nothing. So we're talking about just balls. Something that spans the whole of St. Kitts and Nevis, so you can get anywhere, do it anytime with anybody. Anyway, and of course, good nutrition is key to having a quality sex life, right?
And good eating.
And
Yeah.
yes.
Okay.
This is going to be, I know, the tone for the rest of the night. So, Matthew Duncan, welcome. Welcome. So we are talking about sex and breastfeeding, and this was one of those topics that came up kind of by the way. So Miss Duncan and I were in a session, and we just happened to, start talking about Pleasure Pulse, because I'm always looking for people to invite on the show, especially people who we might not typically, think of when it comes to some relation or connection to sex. And, you told me that you were the nutrition coordinator, and you actually said that you have heard a lot of or you have heard some myths or received some questions when it comes to the connection between sex and breastfeeding. So I was like, I never really thought about it myself. So I was like, let's do that. Let's do that. So I'm happy that we can be here doing that tonight. So I actually want to start with just that, some of those myths and truths around sex and breastfeeding. What do you hear in your work? What are some of the questions that you receive?
Okay, well, some of the myths that we tend to hear more often. One, for example, sex during breastfeeding can harm the baby. Okay, that is definitely a myth. You can have quality sex and breastfeed adequately and successfully without any harm to the baby. I mean, I don't know about doing both of them simultaneously, because persons have asked that question. That would be, that's an individual thing.
Let's hear.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Sorry.
an individual
Yeah.
thing, yeah.
I see. Yeah. You
It wouldn't-
itching to jump in.
It wouldn't do any harm unless during sex, you are not paying attention to the baby and the nipple goes by the baby's nose and the milk goes. But there's actually no harm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about some other myths?
And I'm speaking from experience.
Another one is, breastfeeding is a form of contraceptive. However, person seems to think that any type of breastfeeding will do. But it's not any type of breastfeeding. It's exclusive breastfeeding, which means that you are only giving the baby breast milk. Okay, so that is usually what is known as, and you usually follow the pattern where they either say baby-led feeding or feeding on demand, where you feed the baby as often as you want to. So it is still encouraged, though, even if you are practicing exclusive breastfeeding, because that can delay certain hormones that can help persons to become pregnant, or even delay persons' period for some persons as much as 16 months, a year plus. It is still advised that you use another form of contraceptive, such as condom, for example, with breastfeeding exclusively to prevent another pregnancy.
I have heard that when you are breastfeeding, that you shut off yourself sexually. So because the breasts are usually associated with sex, people wonder if people can feel sexy during breastfeeding. And the answer is yes. Especially
A small amount of individuals,
Expen-
let's put that in there.
we don't know. There are some, just let's say some. Especially if that woman laps her legs, her feet, and the clitoris gets involved, that woman can actually experience an orgasm during breastfeeding, because there is the pelvic the contractions in both of them, the breastfeeding and in coitus. We have the nipples erected during sucking and sexual excitement. We have the breaststroking, and the milk letdown is triggered, and all of these with the erogenous zones coming into place, some women actually feel more sexually aroused. Some women, not all, but if we
few.
feel this way, it doesn't matter if it's a few. We are saying that once you feel it, it's nothing to be ashamed of. It is quite normal. It might not be very popular, but it's normal.
Okay. Any other myths?
No, well, those are some of the major ones when you look at breastfeeding. I mean, some persons already stimulation. For example, we tend to have antenatal clinics. The Ministry of Health, we do it twice annually, and sometimes we have some new mothers among us. And that's always a concern for those new mothers, whether or not they would be stimulated sexually during breastfeeding. Because a lot of time persons, before breastfeeding their babies, it's usually one of those sexual acts that are committed
Right.
either pre-sex or during sex. So, it helps with arousal. So you'll find new mothers especially hear that concern whether or not they will actually have that. So
And that's okay. And if it happens, it doesn't mean that you are a pervert. It's
Or
simply
attracted to your
something
baby.
Yeah.
from it is like a reflex. Another myth is that the men should stay off of the breast while the mother is breastfeeding. So if some women during the breastfeeding period, during the lovemaking, and the man wants to suck on her breast, it is okay. It is not contraindicated. It is all up to the woman
Man.
if she's experiencing pain, or she might not want him to touch it because it's extra sensitive, or she herself feels that she should not be. It is up to the couple, but it does not mean that he has to stay off.
Because one of the things too, during pregnancy and then later on with breastfeeding, women tend to have hormonal changes. So you find in some women, they are more easily stimulated than before, while others, they literally have no sex drive. It's almost impossible or extremely difficult to stimulate them. And so this is usually due to hormones. So you find that some individuals necessarily won't know how it would impact them, what type of feelings they would have, or how they might react to certain attitudes or different behaviors. So it's a lot of it's an individual thing. And it's also a mental thing for some of these mothers too. Because sometimes persons also focus on being a mommy, breastfeeding, ensuring the baby is fed, and especially if you're a new mother, all of the different stress that come with being a new mother. So sometimes mentally, persons are just not there to explore any of these options or any of normal routine that they used to do, such as being sexually active.
And the men are neglected, and that's not good. But we will talk about that as we go home.
So have you ever come across any clients, patients who have complained about maybe becoming completely desensitized, so having virtually no feeling as a result of breastfeeding, like no sexual feelings?
What happens is during this stage, the estrogen level drops to an all-time low, making the vagina dry and sex painful or uncomfortable. Progesterone drops too, and you know that this is responsible for the libido. So that is why sometimes during this period that women feel like they don't need sex, but it doesn't mean that they cannot have intimacy.
Yeah, and it's usually encouraged. I mean, intimacy could be in so many different forms, so it do not have to be full sexual activity. You know, it could be some advances, different cuddling, touching, hugging, etc. So kissing. All of these leading up to starting to explore or get back into the normal range of things, into full sexual intercourse. So some individuals after pregnancy or even during breastfeeding, it might take a little period for them to readjust. So sexuality for some people is also about being part of that sexual activity. It's all about a readjusting period for them.
Okay. And what is that time, that adjustment period? I had a question here about it. I had to find it. How soon after childbirth is it safe or recommended to resume sexual activity? I know I hear some ranges, but then sometimes you hear, if you are online as much as I am, sometimes you hear really unfortunate stories about people's partners wanting to have sex with them right after they give birth, or 2 days after giving birth. The baby ain't even really come out fully yet. Yeah. So what is the recommended wait time before you can resume sexual activity, especially for mothers who are breastfeeding?
Like you said, you see various times. Sometimes you might see some literature say 3 to 6. Some might say 3 to 6 weeks.
Okay, not days.
No, 3 to 6 weeks or 4 to 8 weeks. Sometimes it's an individual thing, and depending on what happened during delivery, whether they had a cesarean section, whether or not they had a vaginal delivery, different episiotomy, which persons would call the cut of the vagina during delivery.
Sewn up. So
usually one thing persons will say when it is one of the telltale signs is when the bleeding down there has stopped. But a recommendation would be for individuals. This is why it is extremely important to have your follow-ups. Speak to your doctor, your healthcare professional, so that they can guide you.
So in terms of healing the waiting period, the recommended waiting periods is approximately 4 to 6 weeks, thereabout. But that is physically. Now, emotionally and psychologically and mentally, then that depends solely on the woman. And that is why during this period, we encourage communication. And so you and your partner have to work out that best timing for you. And it simply starts with that talking, because during this time too, women might have altered body
image concerns.
Image, because now my breasts are so swollen, they're engorged, my belly get big, and I'm so self-conscious, and I feel like I'm not sexy, and my breast might be leaking and all of that. So
you just maybe had a whole baby come out.
Yes. And so a wise man would start with his mouth, you see, with his tongue. Sorry, meaning that he has to use his mouth to affirm the woman.
Words. For words.
So he has to talk. He has to talk.
That's
talk.
like you use your mouth.
But that's okay. That's true. And let the woman know that she is still desired. Baby, you are still sexy. Baby, I appreciate all that you have done to bring my child into this world. Start there, and then you can do light touches. And maybe you can't squeeze the nipples, but you could simply cup up the breast, do light swaying, anything that the woman feels comfortable with. And then you move from there, and eventually you will get back. But it takes understanding, creativity, compromise, sensitivity, and basic understanding.
And additionally, join it back a little bit to breastfeeding. It's recommended for breastfeeding, exclusive breastfeeding, which is up to 6 months. Nothing but breast milk, no water. So even though the healing period might be between those weeks, a person will speak about the breastfeeding aspect literally within those periods. The mom is just adjusting to how to properly position the baby, how to ensure that they are the breastfeeding skills that they are trying to portray, that they are doing it correctly. So this is sort of a continuous period for the mother. So even though the body physically might seems to have been healed properly, and sexual intercourse seems like it's something that can happen safely without any injury, etc. Like Mrs. Vance said, the mental part of it, having to adjust to so many things at the same time, having to be able to breastfeed if babies still haven't quite settled down, because some babies take longer than some to settle. If mommy is a new baby and she's trying to breastfeed exclusively and she don't have support system to really help her along the way. So all of these will tell whether or not a woman is actually ready for sexual activity again. It's multifactorial.
The man has to understand that, and the woman has to understand that sometimes why she is withholding too is that during breastfeeding there are 2 hormones that actually give her that nice feeling like what she would experience during an orgasm: prolactin and oxytocin. So she herself has that good feeling, and she has to understand that daddy needs his good feeling too.
And he can look at the baby.
And so
she's getting it from bonding with the baby.
She is getting
fathers also get those.
She is getting
feelings.
it from the baby, and daddy's at the on the sidelines looking on, and I am advocating for the daddy's rights as well. And while we want them to understand, we have to understand where they are coming from too. So it takes a balance. So daddy, wherever you can help out mommy so that she is not too overwhelmed and tired, then you two need some quality time. Or you may find that after breastfeeding, you only have one baby. Whereas before that, you went in with 2 babies. So you got to be careful.
It's an interesting conversation, I think, for another time, because I have some thoughts, but I'm a non-breastfeeding, never had a baby, any of these things. So I can't relate specifically to that situation. But yeah, I think there are some broader conversations around who has to nurture, and care for a baby, right? And the idea men believe that they're kind of on this
But
side.
you see, you are now seeing, you are actually having a shift where you are seeing more and more men
Wanting to
being
be involved, yes.
And that's why even with breastfeeding, one of what we try to teach and educate mothers to do in order to assist them with some of the challenges related to breastfeeding is to express breast milk. So you can express breast milk if you have what person known as a pump, whether it's the handheld one, the battery operated one. Those help you to get as much milk as possible from the breast. You can do it with your hands, squeeze, and once you have milk stored, you can allow anybody to assist with breastfeeding the baby. So daddy can come into play right then and there. And more mothers are doing that. You'll find that a lot of persons, one of the items that they usually purchase pre-pregnancy is a breast pump, like we like to call it. So that is one of the ways they can help with the role. And so you find a lot more daddies are now being involved because they don't have to wait for the mother to put the baby to the breast. Once you have express breast milk there, the daddy can assist with that.
And doesn't that help with intimacy too? Because I know from some of my conversations and some of the things that, I just conversations that I've had, conversations that I have observed, listened in on. A huge part of our huge intimacy blocker is feeling like you're doing everything by yourself. So when you have both partners, contributing to the rearing of the baby that they both made, that can help to ease back into whether it is regular sexual activity, redefined sexual activity, new sexual activity.
I particularly like this period because this period can strengthen your relationship.
Yes.
And
it is a make or break.
And I believe that it opens it up for greater communication, greater involvement, greater compromise, greater creativity, because some things that you are now prohibited from doing, and I said this, you can find other ways to stimulate your partner. And then it gives you a chance to learn both bodies.
Yeah.
So you can learn what turns on your wife. Foreplay more. I love it.
Opportunity to start over.
Right.
Let's
Yeah.
put it that way.
Before
Yes.
you kind of would just go straight to penetration.
Right,
After
right.
I think I hope a little some foreplay. But you would, mostly that was the act. Right. So now you have an opportunity to try other things and to explore and to broaden what sex means.
And build something deeper through communication. I have learned, that sometimes when my late husband, God bless his soul, we would wake up 3 o'clock. I am just saying. No. I am just saying that sometimes we wake.
I'm just saying.
I am just saying
you
that
know what happened them time, but go ahead.
Sometimes we wake up and we just talk from 2 to 3:30, and when we finish, it feels like you get an orgasm. That closeness of
the connection,
your soul, and so. So I am not saying that sex is not important, but I find that sometimes we overrate sex and cut out that real bonding, because there will come a time when you can't have sex. and you are going to have to fall back on
And
the communication aspect. So build strong relationships. Yeah.
You were going to say something earlier.
Lucy made me, when she talked about she and her husband getting up at 2 in the
You
morning.
were going to talk about you and...
No, Lucy she made me last my train of thought.
Yeah,
I'm glad
because
you-
she knows what she does at 2 a.m.
Tell us your midnight stories.
No, but still, what I can speak about from experience is breastfeeding. Because for me, for example, both of my babies, I have 2 and they were both premature. And so for my daughter, who is now 11, when she was born premature, she didn't actually start sucking from the breast until she was like maybe almost 2 weeks old. So even when I was discharged from the hospital, she was still taking breast milk via cup and spoon. So I had to be expressing, and my husband, he was so excited, to be able to do some of these things. And so quite often we would have to get up different times of the night, to take turn to feed her, because most persons, when you express, especially when they're home, most persons tend to use bottle. But here we have this baby who's still drinking from a cup. So we had to get up all kind of different times of the night to feed her, etc. But, it was really happy for me, because sometimes I never used to even have to turn. I mean, when he hear it first, he get up, he gone. So I think that help him, with the bonding with his children. I mean, especially sometimes when some persons feel like certain roles are only for women. Only women supposed to breastfeed, only women supposed to feed a baby. But now to the age, because persons don't realize technology is not just about things that work with electricity, but technology is finding simpler ways to do things, and so now one of the simpler ways for persons to assist in breastfeeding is to express breast milk and have persons assisting with it. I mean, and there are so many technology now to help. You have some cups that are specifically shaped and they are made out of like soft silicone material, so persons can use to feed the baby. You have the breast pumps, you have the bags where you can have store breast milk in the freezer sometime for up to a year. There are so many advancements now. So I think, following on what Lucy said, and I think that helps the women them who are breastfeeding to not only be able to be, I don't even want to say less cranky, but less fatigue, because then it's not just on there alone, persons are assisting with it. And so that definitely give a sense of appreciation to whoever your support system is, whether it is the husband or the baby daddy, your partner, your grandma, your sister, an older child, because that really helps.
Having said that, we want to big up all the men out there who are in the women's lives, who help to support. I was blessed when I had my children. I had a partner that used to be up with me, helping when I finished feeding. They would burp and help to put her to sleep. So we want to big up.
Big up.
Who share the care, who share the responsibility.
I had something.
You're still at 2 o'clock in the morning.
I don't remember.
Well, I have a question.
Well, I used to wake up 2 o'clock and I would have sex, and then I would go into the communication aspect. So yes, you get dressed.
Okay, I have a question, because I know sometimes, and this is just, based on the conversation, something came up. I know sometimes people breastfeed way past like infancy. So people breastfeed up until sometimes children are 5 years old, sometimes older. Does that have any, impact on their sex lives and on their
to me, that's an individual thing. Up to recently, someone sent me a video with a mommy who's still breastfeeding an 8-year-old. It's not a local video, though.
And it's obviously not exclusive breastfeeding.
Yes, because, but that's an individual thing. But persons are expected to breastfeed. You can breastfeed up to 2 years and beyond. It's an individual choice. But there is also a weaning period.
Of course.
That persons have to look at because
Of course, give back the man his breast.
I cannot say, during that period, definitely, because the thing about breast milk, it's a supply and demand thing. So once that baby is sucking,
Once there's
that 8-year
demand.
will continue to suck,
Yeah.
the mother would always produce
have milk.
breast milk. But I think during that period, most of the body hormones related
Okay.
to sex, etc., should be
Come back.
to normal. However, they would still be able to produce breast milk, but it would not be this sort of nutritional breast milk that
It's just
they
like
would get.
comfort.
It's just more comfort. It's
Okay.
just
And-
more comfort.
And then I feel too that the woman might not be as careful with the care of the areola and nipples with a 3-year-old, 4-year-old as she would when she would have been breastfeeding a baby. So what happens if her partner had oral sex, come back up and suck her nipples, and then you see that the baby coming back? I believe that there should be a healthy cutoff point.
Okay. So I also had a... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I said, well, they usually 2 years, up to 2 years by the time
Yeah.
you can start weaning your baby. But as like they say, it could be 2 years and beyond. So it's an individual thing.
Yeah. So I have a question here, if it's normal. Wait, is that my question? No. Is that my question? Well, my question that I'm thinking about is, have you had anybody come and say, it's been a year, maybe a little under that, a little over that, and their breastfeeding, is still recommended, but they feel like they haven't gotten back to themselves? Like, do you have anybody who seem like they go outside of the range of healing?
As a matter of fact, I know so. They're not a client. This is actually a friend. Well, she did breastfeed exclusively on her period. The baby is already going on, I think, like 2 years, and she still have not seen a period, which is sort of normal with exclusive breastfeeding for some persons. And she feels, as relates to arousal and having a orgasm. She haven't. I'm not afraid. The word was.
It wasn't coming to you.
No, it wasn't coming. I was actually what was coming. That's the word that was coming. That word was coming. But yeah, so she's still experiencing some issues with that. So she had tried different things, ties. One of Lucy's favorite friends recently that she was introduced to.
A rose.
Okay.
Just guess. It's a guess,
Okay, yeah.
And she bought it, but let's go.
And she still, it still is a challenge for her. So we have looked at different things online, discussing it, etc. Maybe something that she needs to try. They probably need to try a new position, or they need to start thinking about other things. Going a little bit outside of the box. But she's still, even though the baby is that age, she's still kind of baby-centered, and and mentally she feels that it would come back, and so that's because mentally, once you think things, most of the time, that's one of the strongest things to go with. So she just figure because she's still so focused on this baby, that's probably why. And her baby, that's probably why she think her body is not functioning like it's supposed
still
to.
breastfeeding?
Yes.
So
nothing is wrong with, like, if you are in that position.
No, sometimes the hormones, for example, estrogen, some of them, they tend to lower.
Yes.
Yeah, so probably that could be why, because she's still breastfeeding, etc. But her body might need a period to transition back.
And
to
in
how
my
we're supposed
research, they say prolactin, which is responsible for the production of milk, that prolactin makes you baby-centered. So you are not
thinking about
focused on that aspect, coupled with the decrease in estrogen and the progesterone. So take time.
It takes time.
Okay, so everybody
It's an individual
Right.
thing.
Not the same.
Somebody might be fully aroused constantly. After having a baby or even during pregnancy.
Yeah, I'll do
Where
that.
somebody else, either during pregnancy or during breastfeeding, they don't want to see nothing related to sex. It's an individual.
And some men can't stand the taste of breast milk, and some love it. Some men even use breast milk as a part of the whole sexual act.
I was off.
I
was like, they use it in cereal. But you were not there. Go ahead. Yeah, they use it as a part of sexual activity.
Because some men can take it, and some women who might not find it sexy, but another couple, and that's why it's all about what works for you.
Yeah, because some individuals, for example, I know of a couple who traveled, and when she traveled, the baby was like 7 months, but she was still breastfeeding, so she did not expect her breast them would have still get engorged with milk. But as soon as she touched down, she had that issue. She did take her breast pump with her, but that small part inside the breast pump that was responsible for the pumping, it was not working. So her husband during that period had to be the breast pump. So, he was just doing it and spitting out the milk, So I was joking with her and said, girl, he could have just swallowed it. Nothing would have happened to him. It would have made the process easier and go faster. So something, but I know something. Some men would have probably been grossed out by that. But all he was thinking about was making her comfortable. And I told her he need an extra reward. He need something extra for that.
And give him an extra round.
Something extra. Whatever extra she wants to give. But he deserved an award for that because all he cared about was her comfort level.
Right.
Okay, so I want to kind of shift to more your wheelhouse, because St. Kitts has reached zero transmission, mother to child, and breastfeeding is part of that. What would you say to people listening, whether they are HIV positive? I think the people who are HIV positive, who are aware of their status, are well connected to your department anyway, but can you just share some information about transmission of HIV and other STDs, in relation to breastfeeding?
HIV can be transmitted through 5 body fluids, winner blood, semen, vaginal fluids, rectal fluids, and breast milk. So in St. Kitts, we recommend, St. Kitts and Nevis, yes, we recommend that the mothers do not breastfeed. As we say, it could be transmitted through breast milk, although they would be on antiretroviral treatment. Then we think that if it we think that it would be safer. So that is the recommendation that we follow. However, our coordinator would give you the other half of it.
Yeah, because this is a discussion that Mrs. Vaughn and I had just before we came into the studio. Because you'll find some countries that do allow HIV positive mothers who are controlled, and when I say controlled, who are on their medication, their T-cells levels are within a certain way, they are compliant. They actually allow them the choice to breastfeed. So it's a choice for them. And so, however, if they decide to breastfeed, it have to be exclusive breastfeeding. So it cannot be breastfeeding plus formula feed. So it have to be exclusive. However, in the Federation, and in some other Caribbean countries, our recommendation is for HIV positive mothers to not breastfeed. So this is where we would educate them on how to properly prepare formula, how to ensure that whatever bottles, nipples, etc. are used are sanitized properly, to ensure that you keep the environment safe for baby and the baby do not get any infections, any gastroenteritis, etc. So it's a choice in some countries once the client meets certain criteria. However, in St. Kitts and Nevis, we usually recommend that HIV positive mothers do not breastfeed.
Okay, and in terms of the other, like gonorrhea, syphilis, and herpes, no, it cannot be transmitted through breastfeeding. However, if there are sores or cracks on the nipples, then we advise you not to breastfeed, at least with that one.
Okay. Anything else about that connection?
Well, yeah, even with HIV, I mean, so if you have a mother who have a cracked nipple, in those countries who allow it, if you have an active bleed, they usually recommend the same thing, because if the baby suck on that nipple, that HIV can be transmitted to the baby through that means. So, you know, that mother would need education on how to properly latch baby to the nipples. Because if the babies aren't latched properly, this is how they get sore nipples, cracked nipples. So you ensure that the babies are not sucking from the nipples, but actually on the alveolar. So that's the dark space around the nipple. That's where they're supposed. No, it's okay.
Yes.
Not tonight, another night. Lucy
Later.
was willing
Later
to show.
tonight.
Okay, so later she and Roma would sort that out. Okay. But yeah, so we teach the proper latching techniques, how the baby should be sucking, because persons feel the babies them are really attached to the nipples.
Yeah.
When it's not the nipples, it's the areola. That's the big dark spot around the nipples. When they are sucking on the nipples, that's how you get cracked nipples, sore nipples,
And that is the
etc.
difference between the men and the babies. So the men stay on the nipples and the babies go on the areola.
You know, that is
dark
so
part.
true. You know, I never even thought about that.
Thank you.
We leave it to leave it to Beaver.
you don't come up with some things, right? Every time you come here, you support me.
Oh, but that is so true.
Yeah.
That, I think that
Yeah.
could be a tagline.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's a
our
tagline.
partners, you know,
Yeah.
because people could have any partners of any gender. So your partners are on the nipple and your baby. So we have to find a more
Yeah.
creative way too. But it makes a lot of sense.
I want to ask Mrs. Duncan this. Do we have any wet nurses in St. Kitts? I would like to be one.
And for
No, because I
but
had
to be
milk.
a wet nurse,
I had milk before I even got pregnant, because I used to suck my tongue and play with my breast. So I used to produce.
okay, so we don't have wet nurse are persons who provide
Who is a wet
donated
nurse?
breast milk.
Yeah.
Donated
Who is a wet
breast milk.
nurse?
They
Tell
provide donated breast. They get these individuals. They provide breast milk for individuals who want their babies to get that liquid gold, to get breast milk, but they do not want to go through the process of continuously producing breast milk for them. So the wet nurse usually provide breast milk for them.
And sometimes
Earlier
they
I
breastfeed
said,
the babies.
yeah, and some
Yeah.
persons they hire them to breastfeed. So earlier I said breast milk is on supply and demand. So these wet nurse, most of them, they would have a baby and they would continue to breastfeed. So once, for example, if they're using a pump to express, they would continuously produce breast milk, and so they would be able to donate breast milk to mothers who want this. It's usually at a cost. Like in England, for example, it is still commonly practiced. I mean, and donating breast milk is something that other countries are considering. Similarly to the process how persons would donate blood, it would be a similar process for breast milk. And you even have some countries where siblings breastfeed each other babies. So Mrs. Van would like to come a wet nurse, but she would have to be able to still be producing milk.
Yes.
She's
Yeah.
confident.
After
I
24
was
years.
Toya, I was producing before.
She's confident she can.
Yes. And you know that it's stimulation. And you know that I'm always stimulated. Let's go. Don't doubt me.
I have no more comments. But I won't support that goal.
So you don't tell the public that. Why?
Okay.
You have older persons.
Of course, but you would.
Older persons who are in their 50s and 60s can do it.
Yes, once you
So
are
then why
supplying
not
breast.
me?
Okay, I haven't inspected you to know if you're still supplying breast milk. So I take that back. Okay, I will have to inspect her to ensure that she still have a good supply of breast milk, and then we'll consider her for that role.
Okay, so we are winding down. We'll take a few extra minutes since we started a bit late. But for you, Miss Matthew Duncan, in terms of nutrition, what foods or nutrients are important for breastfeeding parents?
Well, breastfeeding parents and for lactation and even
for lactation,
sexual health.
and general well-being.
Yeah, sexual
including
health,
sexual
well,
health.
protein. Eggs, fish, for example, those are some real good sources of proteins. And persons could never go wrong with having a constant, adequate supply of vegetables, variety. And when I say variety, colors. So not just you're only eating green, you're only eating red, you're only eating orange, but you tend to eat as much colors as possible. Fruits also, where you would be able to get a good vitamin C supply, because you definitely need your vitamin C. Okay, you need iron-rich foods, spinach, red meat. When I was coming up, persons to speak about the green banana and that being a spinach-rich food, which is really not so. So it's more you want to look at some dark green leafy vegetables. You also want such as spinach and meat, food from animals, kale, and a sort of level, fortified cereals. Iron fortified cereals, those are also some good options. Hydration, you need to ensure you're drinking adequate amount of water. And sometimes for persons who might have an issue with water only, you can have coconut water, you can have infused water, where you can add your fruits, you can have your herbs. So you definitely need a constant supply of breast milk. And because it's liquid, you want to ensure that you are replacing what your body is letting out, which is not only just the breast milk, but insensible such as when you sweat, you require a load other bodily fluids during that period. So it's important that you hydrate properly, and the 8 glasses a day, that's the minimum amount. So I do not mean drink 8 glasses of water and stop. Okay, you want to try as much as possible to get in as much fluid.
And quality fluids.
Quality fluids.
No soda.
None of the sugar sweetened beverages. Yeah.
Fruit juices.
Well,
water.
fruit juices, not so much. Water is the preferred choice.
Right.
There is no substitution for water.
Right.
No substitution.
And
Okay.
fruits that having a lot of water. Like
Yeah, we have some
watermelon.
fruits like watermelon, and we have vegetables that have high water
Right.
content also, like cucumbers.
Right.
Okay, but it's usually easier if you try to drink your water so that you can see how much you are drinking. And some of those fruits would also help. Okay, but you want to be careful of consuming too much of certain foods. For example, fruit juice, 100% fruit juice would be recommended. But you don't want to go, some persons, for example, will drink a whole bottle, the liter-sized fruit juice for a day, and and that is just too much sugar. So you'll recommend that you have no more than about 1 to 2 glasses of fruit juice
But when
for
I say
lactating
fruit
woman.
juice, I mean that you can make your own juice.
Local
The
drink.
mango, lemonade.
Any one of them.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, I recently, over the weekend, I got a set of 5 fingers from my sister. I mean, my daughter used to eat them
So you
quite
have
a bit,
15
but
fingers now.
it was a lot. Okay, it was a lot. So, they had started to spoil, and my husband, he just got into a mood, and he just pureed them and add water, and then he strained them, and it was so refreshing. Honestly, it was really nice. So you don't even have to add any sugar.
Yeah.
No sugar.
Yeah, true. Okay, so as you were talking, I actually thought about this, if diet can influence milk production or the taste
Of course.
of breast milk.
Of course. It tastes special.
Because, we're talking about partners being on the breast, and
Yeah.
if you're
Right.
breastfeeding, getting some of that milk, can
Yes,
you
it
make
can.
it taste good for your partner?
Well, about tasting good, I'm not sure, but some
did
seasonings
say
and
that.
so forth, some
Yeah.
seasoning, like research have shown, like garlic, for example, persons who consume high amounts of garlic, you can literally
It's a body
the
fluid.
perspire it. You could smell it. So the breast
Yes.
milk
It's garlicky.
could be garlicky as well as
Sounds
some
nice.
high, as well as some
Come make pasta.
seasonings, high seasonings and
It's a
so
body
forth.
fluid,
They
so
can.
of course.
They can. So I'm not
Okay.
sure about making it taste better because we can't say whether
Diet.
breast milk actually, some persons would say it tastes good, others would say it don't
Some
taste good.
say
We
that
don't
it's
know what the
sweet.
babies are tasting. Some
Right.
say sweet, some say
If
salty.
you are a naturally sweet person, the breast milk would be sweet.
Yeah, but some of these food items, they definitely can.
Affect the taste. Okay, we've talked a lot about actually at different points. I think you kind of mentioned some of the services that you provide or hinted to. I feel like anybody listening to you all talk, I get a sense of what happens in the ministry. but I think it's always helpful to make it plain and make it clear. So I'm curious, what resources or support systems are available for people struggling with body image or intimacy issues while breastfeeding, and in general, what does the government provided health support look like for new mothers?
Okay. Well, somebody just texted me and they said that you are a sexologist, and kindly expound, and maybe they didn't hear me. I said that I was a budding sexologist. It means that I am going into that field.
And she'll make an excellent one.
And so St. Kitts, you are having your very own sexologist and sex therapist soon. It is actually a professional that studies and works with human sexuality in all aspects. You have sexual behavior, we have sexual health, we have relationships and intimacy, we have sexual orientation, we have sexual rights. So it covers a vast area and a number of things. And a sex therapist works with individuals and couples with sexual issues. So whatever problems you have, problems experiencing orgasms, if you have ED, erectile dysfunction. Listen, anything to do with sex.
Okay, so we don't have to worry about the wet nurse anymore.
No. Well, that's a different wet. That's a wet up nurse. So yes, so that is one that would be coming on stream soon. But until then, we have other services.
For example, as it relates to breastfeeding, we do have a breastfeeding support committee. Well, we have a breastfeeding committee in St. Kitts made up of persons from St. Kitts as well as Nevis, who look at planning most of the activities as relates to breastfeeding. For example, last week was breastfeeding week globally, and so we had quite a few activities across St. Kitts and Nevis. Additionally, we have a group of volunteer individuals, some retired nurses, some nurses who are still on staff. We provide a card to individuals, so they have the number of these individuals, and you have specific time when you can call them, etc. So if you are having issues relating to breastfeeding or even with the baby, for example, you can actually reach out to these volunteers. And so usually at maternity unit, when they are being discharged, they are usually given one, sometimes during booking at outpatient department. And I've have one of the more popular nurses, Nurse Brumble, who have had to take questions like relating to STDs and different health concerns.
And they go come to the National AIDS.
Yeah, and persons. Also, you see, we have our budding
sexologist and sex therapist.
And she's actually very good at other things, so I'm sure that she'll be able to assist other individuals.
So these volunteers who are attached to new mothers, they help you with things like lactation and
everything
stuff?
relating to
That's
that.
so
And not only
cool.
not only new mothers.
Yeah.
So even if you have somebody who is a support system, a grandmother, auntie, a father, they want to call, or somebody who could have been on their third, fourth, fifth baby.
Questions about the new baby,
breastfeeding, etc. They would help them. Matter of fact,
for free.
For free. As a matter of fact, one of the nurses do even go out of her way and drive to people's homes, to assist them.
I asked because I have seen like people, not here, I think usually in the US and so, where they have to hire a lactation specialist, as in pay. So like you're talking about something that is provided to you. Okay, continue with the free services. Tell me more.
Yeah, but that's the thing. But in St. Kitts and Nevis, we have a lot of services that are for free. We have our health centers. They provide HIV testing, rapid HIV testing, antenatal care, throughout pregnancy, postnatal care after pregnancy, and these services are free.
Listen, I want to big up all of the health professionals who go above and beyond, because even in the National AIDS Secretary, well, I myself, I give persons my number all the time. So people call me at 12 o'clock, 1 a.m. I am using a female condom, and I always say, I do house calls because some people can't get them fitting. Do you know that I have been called 9 o'clock one night? Could you come over? I can't get it in. And so many nurses have been going out of their way after working hours. So we are blessed.
Yeah.
And we are grateful. But Toya, did you tell them that? I don't think many persons know that there is maternity leave, but I wonder if the public knows that the father can also apply for leave.
Paternity leave.
You knew?
Tell them. I don't think
2 weeks.
I knew for like some companies. I know like Flo. I think it was.
No, this can actually happen once you are married. I don't know if that have changed, but it's if you are married, the husband can apply it for paternity leave. It's 2 weeks paid leave. I'm not sure exactly whether all of the companies are compliant with it.
Yeah, I don't.
But it's not something that is automatic like the women. When we give birth, we get with 91 days. It's something they would have to apply for. And I'm assuming because it is not something that is so popular, so well known in St. Kitts and Nevis.
So this
Well,
is.
we have to rally for it.
And it's not new. It's something that have been there.
That is the same process as the mother.
No, it's not. This because the mothers, we don't
Get
necessarily apply. It's sort of automatically.
Automatic.
You know, we do sign the
with
forms,
social
et cetera.
security. So is this so the fathers go to social security
But
too?
the fathers would have to apply.
Yeah, they have to
Because they
apply,
might not know
request it.
who the father
But-
is, right? So then no, but the father. would
That's
have
why
to
the last time
apply.
I checked, I'm not sure it have changed. Yeah, it's usually for married individuals. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
So if I'm wrong, please I stand corrected. But I know usually it's for persons who are married.
Okay.
So automatically, once those individuals, once the father apply for it, I mean, could be depending on the company, but no social security for though they can get their 2 weeks.
Well, we are gonna push for it because
Yes.
if I am gonna be home for 6 weeks, I want you to be home.
You have to be
help
there
me
too.
Of course.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so you have lots of resources and support, that people who are dealing with the joy and the challenge of a new baby can tap into. So just call the Ministry of Health or go to your nearest clinic. They usually provide it to the clinic.
Go to your the clinics are accessible and we have some fabulous nurses. Kudos to our community nurses. So please utilize the health centers. Even if you have a question, you can also go to maternity unit. I know some persons might have a preference in nurses because sometimes nurses don't rotate as often, but the health center, the services are there. They are there and they are free. So try to utilize them. As well as health promotion unit, you can also come to health promotion unit. I mean, we have 3 areas within health promotion unit, NCDs, nutrition, HIV. So we are bound to be able to assist you, either provide guidance, give you some sort of counseling on this part.
Okay.
But services like the HIV rapid test, I mean, I think that Luz is the expert on them. So we do have quite a array of free services and support systems. We are quite few, however, we don't mind stretching.
Next, they're here tonight, and they'll be back again. So, we are at the end of the show. I want to invite you to share any final words, encouragement, or whatever it is you want to, reflections, whatever you want to share.
I just want to say, I want to join with you to encourage the mothers to practice the exclusive breastfeeding. I had a 10-ounce baby, and he was quite hefty, and that is what held him. breast milk. You drink your water, and you would do just fine. It can satisfy. It's set up. God made us with that ability to feed our young. And don't forget your Kegel exercises, your Kegel.
What is Kegel?
Ladies, you can start when you sit on your toilet and you are passing urine, you hold it, you stop it midstream, and then you count to 5, and then you release it, and then you can go up more and you count to 10, and that would help to bring back the pelvic muscles and the vaginal muscles, making it nice and tight again, and it increases the pleasure during sex for both you and your partner, so that when he enters you, your vagina would kind of give that nice handshake, and it is good. So
It sounds scary. Hey, what's up?
So yes, so
Who's that?
practice that. Practice that, and remember to go at your own pace. We were speaking about sex and breastfeeding. Go at your own pace. Communicate before you copulate. That is important. Talk with your partner. Be willing to meet each other halfway. Hey, this period can actually strengthen your relationship and make sex go through the roof after. Trust me, been there, done that. Literally through the roof.
So, in summary for me, so sex and breastfeeding, they can coexist healthily. But during the postpartum period, it might bring some challenges, such as the physical, thinking about how persons look physically, the mental aspect of it, adjusting to a new environment, helping baby to adjust to a new environment. So there are different readiness levels. So there is no one size fits all for individual.
It's like a condom.
Okay. So there is definitely, it's an individual thing. So breastfeeding parents, it's all about prioritizing. Of course, on a good system. You prioritize nutrition, you prioritize rest, you prioritize everybody around you, because even though the baby is here at this point, you have to remember you have other persons that you have to provide a certain level of support for. Persons who still require a certain level of attention, a certain level of love, for example. So with the right support, understanding, intimacy can not only return, but it can even be better. Like Lucy said, could go to the roof. Take them to go past the roof, it could go to the moon, and wherever else past the moon.
Intimacy in disguise.
Okay? Yeah, so, they can literally coexist. And if persons, you need some support with it, we have our budding sexologist. I'm sure she would not mind offering some advice to individuals.
Ready like
Just
Freddy.
don't call her 10 o'clock in the night and...
Well, that's the preferred time.
I was just going to say, I think she probably going to say
That's when
later,
the
call me
concerns-
later than that.
That's when the concerns pop up. Yes.
Okay.
And I love my job.
Oh, we know that.
Okay.
Yeah, we know that.
Thank you both so much for joining me for this conversation. I hope that, folks who may have missed it tonight definitely can check it out online tomorrow or whenever. Share the link widely, because I think it was such an important and timely discussion, considering Breastfeeding Week was last week and people are, as we speak, having babies and breastfeeding babies. So thank you all again. Thank you to all of you for joining us for this and making babies who will be breastfed, right? So this is just prep for that point. So thank you again for joining me, and I wish you all, as usual, a pleasurable evening, and I will say good night here.
And go easy on the breast.
Good night.